Hello, students, and welcome to another episode of College Prep World History. I'm Mr. Willis, and on behalf of the entire World History Department, Mr. Gordon, Ms. Mancini, and Ms. Atwood, we're bringing you another episode. This one is the final cause of World War I, the match that is struck in order to start the fire that is World War I. And that is the final A in Mania. So if you were following along with your causes of World War I, Mania, that last A is Assassination. And we're going to get into that story of assassination here today. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the slide. And so it begins here, our first slide. This is World War I beginning for us. And our second slide here is talking about the relatives, the blood relatives that are involved in the World War I cause. 2 against 1 here. So you have here the first one is Tsar Alexander I and his cousin King George V, who, if you look at both of them, they kind of look like twins or brothers, right? They're so closely related as cousins. And then Kaiser Wilhelm II. They're all blood relatives, but yet 2 fight on one side, two are on the side of the Triple Entente. And Kaiser Wilhelm II, is Kaiser of Germany, is the main participant in the Triple Alliance. And so here's your picture that we wanted to show you guys of the 3 cousins at war. Not going to go well for the cousins here in the family, especially Tsar Alexander I and Kaiser Wilhelm II, who we'll be addressing here. All right, so first slide here, we want to talk about lines are drawn. So to kind of sum up the story, or to kind of start the story of the assassination, we kind of need to understand what's going on in the area of the Balkans. The Balkans is what is referred to as the powder keg, and I'll get to that here in just a little bit. But the area of the Balkans is a really diverse area of ethnic groups. Serbia, in particular, a very small country, is going to be in the forefront of this assassination issue, and it has a really large Slavic population. And it wanted to create a unified Slavic state in the Balkans, but unfortunately, that was not to be, mainly because of the influence of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in that region. And Russia, in particular, wanted Serbia to have a Slavic nation, so they formed a secret alliance with Serbia because both were strongly Slavic nations. And so it really puts the Austro-Hungarian Empire against the Russian Empire prior to this First World War. Well, as you know, in our alliance piece prior, one of our causes of World War I, the Austro-Hungarian Empire had formed an alliance with Germany. And so Germany swore that if the Austro-Hungarian Empire went to war, the Germans would support the Austro-Hungarians. So as you guys can see, this is where these dominoes are going to begin to fall. In effect, if one nation declares war, another one will declare war as well. So this is a very volatile area of Europe in 1914, and it's going to get more volatile with the assassination that we're going to be speaking about here in just a moment. The Austrians feared rebellion from the Slavic population, so they basically are annexing the area of Serbia with the support of the Germans. And because the Russians are unprepared for the war at the time, they're going to back down from fighting against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So our next slide is going to actually deal with the crisis and what causes war to break out in this region of the world, ultimately leading to our first great world war, or the war to end all wars is what it's called. And this term powder keg, which is described here on this slide, think of it essentially as like, if you've seen, again, the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they have this wooden keg, and inside the wooden keg is gunpowder. If you light a match to it, set it on fire, it's going to explode. Well, that's the assassination. That match is lit, and it blows up the area with violence. So we're going to get to the assassination attempt here in just a moment. It's the imperialistic claims of ownership of major European powers on the areas of Turkey that are now being vacated by the Ottoman Empire because of its weakening. All right, and so Austria in 1908 takes control of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Tensions are going to rise, and it leads to ultimately the assassination attempt and success of the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who is the Archduke of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So really what you're seeing here on this slide, crisis in the Balkans, you have tensions are high, ethnic groups dislike of one another, mainly because of this nationalistic and imperialistic fervor that exists in this region. People wanted to form nations and boundaries based upon their ethnic groups, and Russia wanted this for the Serbian people, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Austria, was not allowing this to happen. So it leads to rising tensions among these people. So let's get to the story of the fifth cause of World War I, the shot heard around the world, and the Archduke Franz Ferdinand's assassination. So this is always a fun, interesting story. Okay, I shouldn't use the word fun because someone passes, someone dies, but most students tend to remember this story when I teach it to them, and so hopefully you guys can remember it as well beyond the confines of our world history class. How does World War I start? Because of a cheese sandwich. A cheese sandwich. All right, and so I'm going to kind of explain that to you, why World War I starts because of a cheese sandwich. So the way that the day goes is that Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were visiting Sarajevo. They were there to witness the Austro-Hungarian army go through some exercises, because remember, we have militarism. There's a large standing army already in place, and so they want to make sure they're ready to go if necessary. So they witnessed the Austro-Hungarian Empire's exercises as a massive success. And so the next thing that they're going to do of that day is they're going to go to City Hall in Sarajevo and have lunch with very important politicians and other people in Sarajevo. And so the Archduke and Sophie decide that they're going to have a caravan of cars go up the main boulevard in Sarajevo. But what they don't know is that with this motorcade, a small Serbian terrorist organization, it's important to know that this is not sanctioned by the Serbian government. It's a radical Serbian terrorist organization, because that's what it is. They are successful in terrorizing and killing the Archduke. They have plotted to kill the Archduke while he is in Sarajevo. And so a series of multitudes of assassins have lined the streets of the main boulevard where the Archduke and his wife Sophie will be traveling in order to assassinate the Archduke. Well, the way it goes is that the caravan goes down the main boulevard, and the first assassin loses his nerve. The first assassin has a bomb he's going to throw. All right, again, we have these, it's similar to a grenade, but it's not a grenade. It's a handheld device that he throws, and it's supposed to detonate on contact. But he loses his nerve, and so he doesn't throw it. Well, the second assassin on that boulevard does throw it. And the way that, the cars are back then, the Archduke is traveling in a convertible topped car. The convertible top is down, and it's kind of like an accordion. And so the handheld device bounces off the accordion-like roof of the car and into the street behind the Archduke's car, and explodes. And it injures 12 people, mainly in the car behind him, who has like the general adjunct for the army, for the Austro-Hungarian army. And so as soon as that happens, as soon as that explosion happens, the Archduke's driver hits the gas. He just takes off. And so because the assassins are unsuccessful with the hand bomb, of killing the Archduke. The other ones, the car's going too fast for the other ones to be able to execute the plan. And one of those assassins is Gavrilo Princip, who had a gun. And so they all believe that they've lost their opportunity to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Meanwhile, that second assassin, he tries to jump in the river. The river's not very deep. They pull him out and arrest him. But they don't know, the law enforcement officials in Sarajevo don't know that there's a multitude of other assassins that are in the city that day in order to kill the Archduke. And so we're going to focus on Gavrilo Princip. Really, that's the one that we really want to focus on. Because as the Archduke's car goes away, speeds away to the city hall, Gavrilo Princip decides that he's going to kind of lay low a little bit while this is all occurring because he doesn't want to, raise suspicion. And so he travels across the street of the main boulevard into what we would probably see today as like a modern day, well, it's not a modern day, but it'd be like a delicatessen where you can go and get a sandwich, like a Subway or, a Firehouse Subs. He's going to go in there, just without the toasted sub, but he's going to go in there and get a cheese sandwich. And so here, this is the part where the cheese sandwich comes into play. So he's going to go have lunch. He's going to go get something to eat while everything kind of like dies down a little bit and then leave because he's lost his opportunity. Well, while Gavrilo Princip is having that sandwich over in this delicatessen, Sophie and the Archduke are at City Hall, and they're telling the people, I come here as a goodwill gesture, and you've tried to assassinate me. And so a lot of that luncheon is spent trying to convince the Archduke that no, this wasn't us, we didn't plot to kill you, the Serbian government didn't plot to kill you. And so tensions have risen to an all-time high, and the Archduke and Sophie come out of that meeting, that luncheon, still kind of shaken by the whole idea that somebody tried to assassinate him. But they're pretty much convinced that the government probably didn't have something to do with that. That was probably some sort of independent organization that tried to kill both of them. Well, the Archduke ordered his driver to go to the hospital because he wanted to see how the wounded were doing from that assassination attempt. So the Archduke's driver drives right back down the same boulevard where the bomb exploded. But as he travels along that route, he had a specific street that he was supposed to turn on originally before the assassination attempt after the luncheon. And so he, without being told, continues down that path that he was told prior to continue down. Well, he doesn't realize that he turned down a one-way street. Traffic is going the other direction. So the driver makes a right turn, he stops, and he has to put the car in reverse. Well, as that happens, it just so happens that the car stops at the delicatessen on the corner where Gavrilo Princip was outside eating his cheese sandwich. So Gavrilo Princip, much to his surprise, sees that the car with the Archduke and his wife has stopped alongside the delicatessen he happened to be eating lunch at. And he drops his cheese sandwich, drops on the floor, wasted a perfectly good cheese sandwich. And who knows what type of cheese it was. Okay, it probably wasn't American cheese, right? He pulls out his revolver and he shoots 2 shots. And the first shot strikes the wife, Sophie, right in the chest, killing her. And the second shot strikes the Archduke in the neck and severs the artery, the carotid artery in his neck, where he bleeds out and dies. So the driver hears the gunshots, again, full reverse, full forward, tried to take them to the hospital. By the time they get to the hospital, they realize both are dead. And so this is the shot heard around the world. This is the match that starts the great First World War, the First World War. This is the event that really sets off the series of military actions after this that would cause World War I to begin. Because after this is when the Austro-Hungarian government demands that the Serbians allow investigators from the Austro-Hungarian government into Serbia to investigate this crime against the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. And Serbia says, no, we're going to conduct our own investigation. We will not allow outsiders to come in and investigate this. And this is where the Austro-Hungarians call on the Germans, their secret alliance, and say, look, you said you would support us. You said you would support us if we went to war. We're about to go to war with Serbia over this assassination. Germany says, yeah. Kaiser Wilhelm II says, yep, let's do it. So the Austro-Hungarians declare war on Serbia. Serbia is at war now with a major nation. Russia says, we're going to enact our secret treaty with you, Serbia. So the Austro-Hungarians have declared war against you. We declare war against the Austro-Hungarians. Germany sees that Russia gets in the war, so Germany declares war on Russia. And it just sets off a chain of events, right? The French are allied with the Russians. Now the French are declaring war against the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians, right? Italy declares war. So this is where it escalates into the World War that we will see as we proceed throughout the series of lessons that we're about to teach you guys. So last thing we're going to do here is we're going to show you the video on the assassination, kind of the story I told you guys a little bit, and some of the successive events afterwards. Hope you guys enjoy the video, all right? But hopefully you guys, more importantly, remember that cheese sandwich story, which is what starts the war to end all wars, what we believe is the war to end all wars until we get to World War II, right? So here's the video on the assassination of Archduke, all right? And at the conclusion of the video, you guys have a wonderful day.